Okay, so let me tell you about this incredibly exciting opportunity. It's an investment opportunity and it's called Britannia's Gold. What I want to do first of all is go over some quick numbers, watch a short video, show you some newspaper clips and tell you what this is all about and how you can receive potentially spectacular returns as early as the next few weeks and potentially paying out regularly over the next 36 months and beyond that as well. But the 36 months are the figures that we've got to work on here. So first of all, what is Britannia's Gold? Well, during the First and Second World Wars, there were merchant ships from the UK that were carrying gold. The reason they were carrying gold was to pay for munitions, for the arms that we were buying in to help defend the country. Also, the gold was being shipped out to other parts of the British Empire for safety in case of invasion by Hitler. So that was First and Second World War, and they have estimated there were over 7,000, I say estimated, there's documented evidence, over 7,000 merchant ships were sunk, torpedoed by German U-boats in the wars, and they lie at the bottom of the oceans. Now, of those 7,000, over 700 were designated as official gold carriers. They weren't putting the gold on military ships to transport the gold around the world. They needed the military ships for defence around the UK coast. So the gold was put on merchant ships predominantly, and those merchant ships were still targets for the Germans, and around about 60% of all ships for the UK were sunk during World War I and World War II. And like I said, over 700 of those. Now, this data has come from over 25 years of research. It all started by finding some files that have been misfiled, and that led the paper chain, the paper chase, to discover lots more files, which led over 25 years to the collection of data, over 8 million pages of information, data from all sorts of sources, including public records, secret files that have become now open available after the time has passed, and so on, and bringing together this information to, like a jigsaw puzzle, to find where these ships are that have the gold. Also, which ships were carrying the gold, which of these merchant ships. So let me just play you a short video which summarises that again for you. It's a lovely little video that the Britannia's Gold team have put together. So watch this to get a bit more of a flavour of what the whole project is about.
We got it.
Okay, so there is a short video just showing the details of this incredible salvage operation. At the end there you would have seen Will Carrier, who is one of the key people putting all this together, saying we've got it. They've actually surveyed 3 of the first ships. They've already done the survey. They're lying in the right position. They've identified the ships. They're the right ships. They also know that they have not been tampered with. So they are lying there at the bottom of the ocean, potentially with tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and ultimately amongst all the ships, billions of pounds worth of gold. And Britannia's Gold want to salvage that gold. It's not a treasure hunt in that sense. They know where the gold is. We know how to get it back, so it's simply a salvage operation. So salvage operations are very expensive and it needs to be funding. So it's being crowdfunded and it's all came through origination through a company, a club rather, called the Angel Business Club. I've been a member of the club myself since the start, so several years now I've been a member, and it's a really exciting place to be. It's a very friendly environment. We're a pretty exclusive bunch of people. There's about 2,000 active members worldwide in the Angel Business Club, and we are the people who have basically got this Britannia's Gold off the ground. Philip Reed is the chairman, and I'll go through the details of who's behind this as well in just a moment. But what I also want to do is show you some of the newspaper articles to help you understand this is the real deal. This is my youngest daughter here holding up the Daily Mail. Found 4.5 billion of British gold sunk by the Nazis. A big double-page article there in the Daily Mail, one of the British most popular newspapers. Here's City and Finance, also in the Daily Mail. Investors join hunt for 4.5 billion pounds of the gold. Team of salvage experts hoping to recover billions of pounds of the gold from deep sea shipwrecks are looking for investors to back their treasure hunt. Here's another article here. This one, I believe, again was another. This was probably the Sunday Mail, Daily Mail on Sunday. Treasure hunt. Salvage experts seek to bring back backing to raise gold worth billions from ships sunk in world wars. Another article here in the London Evening Standard. 4.5 billion treasure hunt launches for gold in Atlantic war wrecks. And here you can see on the left-hand side picture of Will Carrier and leading the team there. Here's also the Sunday Telegraph, a small article there. So you can see the newspapers are very interested in this as well. There is actually on board the salvage ships, which are due to set sail any moment now. The salvage ships on board of those, there's a guy called Will Aslett, and he has also produced documentaries for the BBC and the Discovery channels and people like that. So there's a documentary film crew on board. There's also talk that there's a Hollywood movie team that are interested in the story. It's an absolutely fascinating story of that, there is no doubt. Who doesn't like the idea of being able to get back this gold? And that's what we're going to be doing with Britannia's Gold. So what are the sort of returns that are possible? Then we'll look at who's behind and then just give you some details about the deadline and make sure that you can get involved. So what sort of returns are possible? Well, let's take you through to the page first of all. So let's go to the crowdfunding site. So ideally you just want to become a member of the Angel Business Club. Then you go through the business club back here to see the actual details of the crowdfunding. So let's click on more information here. And what we're going to do, I'm going to look at the files and documents. We've got the full official documents here. Actually, before I do that, here, let's just have a quick summary again of the details here. 25 years, that's the amount of time that's been spent on research and development to get to this point we are today. Now is the time you want to get investing. Once the doors are closed, that's it. There'll be no more need for any money, because once we salvage that first gold, it's going to become self-financing. The Britannia's Gold will use some of that profit from those first few shipwrecks to continually fund this for years to come. So this is a literally once in a lifetime opportunity to get an investment here. 60 crew. The salvage vessel will have a total of 60 experts and personnel to recover the gold and precious metals. £9 million, that's for the project. We're aiming to raise £9 million in partnership with Angel EQT, which is part of the Angel Business Club, with 3 million already subscribed and committed. 5,500 metres is where the deepest wrecks are. So this is not something, they don't use scuba divers for this. This is all remotely operated recovery vehicles. 2,000 tonnes, that's the minimum identified weight in gold, silver and non-ferrous metals that is lying in these ships just waiting to be recovered and salvaged back to the surface. So in today's value, the total amount of gold that was shipped out from the UK in the First and Second World War was £232 billion, of which 60% is estimated was sunk in the ships. So that leaves clearly over £100 billion worth of gold lying at the bottom of the oceans, and the Britannia's Gold team know where a substantial part of that is. So let's go and have a look at some of the figures here. Now this is all fully regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. It does qualify for Enterprise Investment Scheme, which is preferential tax treatment for investors if you're in the UK. This is available to anyone in Europe, not just the UK, and so if you want to get involved you can. Let's go and have a look at these profit and loss forecasts. I think it's this one here. Let's just go to this document. Okay, so here we go. This is for illustrative purposes only, but what an illustration this is. So this is compiled by Britannia's Gold. I'm just an investor, by the way, so I'm not giving you financial advice here. I'm not qualified to do that. You need to do your own research, but I'm just giving you some details so that you can start that research, make sure you're comfortable with that, and so on. But you can see here, let's run through some figures very quickly to show you the potential returns that you could make. Minimum £1,000 investment. There's no maximum. You can go for as much as you want, up to the 9 million, which is the total. As we stand at the moment, we're about 2.6 million, 3 million committed to the funds, so there is a chance for you to still get in here. But let's have a look here. Salvage income. So this is the income, total income generated from the salvage. This is in thousands of pounds, so this is £546 million we're talking about here is the total salvage income. We've got the cost of the survey vessel, that's 549,000. That's already been done, by the way. The surveys have already been done. The salvage preparation costs to get ready for the salvage, 405,000. The actual cost of salvage, 6.5 million. So the total cost to salvage the gold, 7.455 million. There's also a royalty to be paid to the research team, 167,000. The cargo owner's share, that's the UK government, Her Majesty's government. We're basing this on a 20% revenue share. That's not been finalised yet. It's going to be probably somewhere between 20 and no more than 50%. Historically, it's been 20% that the government have worked on for cargoes that have previously been salvaged. So that would give 107 million going to the UK government, so total cost 115 million. That leaves a gross profit of 431 million, and then you've got costs for selling, general administrative, fundraising costs, charitable donation of 13 million, leaving an operating profit of 416 million. So profit before tax, 416 million, corporation tax therefore around about 80 million, and profit after tax is 337 million. Take away profit of 12 million leaves 325 million in dividends. So you're talking turning a £1,000 investment into £32,000 in the first 12 months. We do the same thing 2018 because we are talking hundreds of shipwrecks here. We're not just talking 1 or 2 shipwrecks. It will be 3 shipwrecks initially which have already been surveyed and they've been tested, as I've said earlier, that they have not been tampered with, and so they know where the cargo will be, and so that's all they need to do is go and salvage that. 2018 they do the same thing for some more shipwrecks, and again similar sort of returns. Another 336 million as a possibility for return, 12 million kept aside to carry on to cover all the costs for 2019 and so on. So in actual fact, if you look at these dividends, 325 million first year, 336 million second year, and 963 million, i.e. just short of 1 billion in the third year, you are talking a total return there of 160 times investment. So in other words, if you put £1,000, and if these figures were correct, and this is, you know, it is a fair chunk of speculation on this, but if these figures are correct with the amount of gold that is down there, remember, £232 billion worth of gold was shipped out of the UK in First and Second World Wars. That's documented. That was majoritively put on merchant ships, and 60% of all merchant ships were sunk. So it's very fair to surmise that 60% of the 232 billion was sunk to the bottom of the ocean. And if we can just recover, we're talking here about 1%. That's the sort of figure of recovery of that amount of gold that was sunk in the first 36 months here, first 3 years. Then this, I personally believe, is very, very achievable. So you're talking 160-fold return on your investment. So £1,000 investment could return you £160,000 in the next 36 months. That is an astonishingly high return. Now, it is high risk. And again, as I've said earlier, there's absolutely no guarantee. If they don't find gold in those first 3 shipwrecks, then that's the money spent. It's a very expensive operation, gold salvage, shipwreck salvage, because you need all these personnel, you need the expensive equipment. It is an expensive task, which is why it doesn't happen very often. And also, it's a case of having the data, which is unique to Britannia's gold. So let me give you a bit more evidence. Who's actually behind this? So I've shown you the newspaper articles, shown you a little video, which does indeed, at that end of that video, it does show the surveys that have been done on the shipwrecks, with Will Carrier being there, with Seb Lacombe as well, who's one of the salvage experts with him on that video. But let me give you a bit more background. You know, who's actually behind Britannia's Gold? Well, Britannia's Gold is listed at Companies House. It's a British company, and so therefore it's legally listed as a British company, Britannia's Gold Limited, at Companies House. You can go and check this information yourself if you want, companieshouse.gov.uk, and you will see here are the directors of the company. And we scroll down a bit, and here is Will Carrier and Mauricio Garrido, well known within the maritime industry for his salvage expertise. But here's one I also want to highlight, big name here, Nicholas Henry. Who is Nicholas Henry? Well, if you actually click on Nicholas Henry, you'll find out that he's a director of multiple companies here. 71 appointments he's actually got. Here's the most recent one, Britannia's Gold. But he's also a director with Hughes Marine Engineering, Buchan Technical Services Limited, Hughes Subsurface Engineering, and so on. Nicholas Henry is also a director of a company called James Fisher PLC. James Fisher and Sons PLC, to give it its full title, a marine services company worldwide, and Paul Nicholas is the managing director of James Fisher and Sons, or the CEO. James Fisher and Sons is listed on the London stock market. It's the UK's oldest and biggest maritime services company. It's a huge company. So that credibility in itself should be enough for you to say, wow, this really is an incredibly serious project. James Fisher, I believe, have donated a fair chunk of their equipment, their expertise as well, thanks to Paul Nicholas being involved and being a director with Britannia's Gold. And so we are seeing some very exciting things and possibilities there. So that has actually substantially reduced the cost of the Britannia's Gold project from where it first started. Originally they thought they were going to need to raise 15 million, but effectively they can actually start this project on just 4 million, which is their lower target. 8 million would allow them to carry out 2 salvage operations in tandem, but 4 million allows them to carry out the simple salvage operations, which originally thought was going to cost 4 times this amount at 15 million. So because of who they've got involved, because of the expertise, because of the companies that have come in, there's also a company called Atlantic Marine, and they are very interested. There's also talk of a joint ownership with a salvage ship that was going to get scrapped, and one of the directors has or is in the process of finalising the deal to buy that from the scrappage company, because it's still a valid ship, a salvage ship, but the oil and gas industry has had a huge decline since the 2008 financial setbacks, and so we've got the opportunity there again. So timing wise, it couldn't be better. The costs have reduced dramatically and the technology has increased dramatically. These ships can operate on GPS. We can go straight back to the 3 ships that have already been surveyed within a meter, and the survey ship can hold its position on the sea using GPS and amazing technologies. And it's a lot simpler now to recover this gold than it was 20 years ago, and so on. So that's the project. I think I've covered everything. There is a huge deadline. The deadline is the 30th of September, midday UK time, 30th of September. That is the deadline. You need to make your pledge to invest in this by then if you're interested. So click the link below this video and that will take you through a quick quiz for you as to what sort of investor you are, whether you're in Europe, whether you're in the UK, just to guide you, and I'll have other videos there which will explain what you now need to do if you're interested in becoming an investor with Britannia's Gold. Remember, we're talking potentially up to 160-fold return in just the first 36 months. That isn't where it ends. That's just probably the first 20 or 30 shipwrecks. There's over 700 that they've identified as being gold carriers. And so this is an absolutely incredible project. So click the link below and take the next step if you want to become an investor in this amazing project.